This is John O'Cromley. You're listening to Bigfoot Club Podcast, Cryptid Sports Entertainment for Life.
Hey everybody, Bigfoot Club Season 8, Episode 2. Bigfoot Bob, I'm here with my nephew, Skookum Steven. Skookum Steven, say what's up.
What's up?
What's going on?
Not much, man. I'm excited.
It's the Ocho.
It is the Ocho, the second, or the dose for the Ocho?
Yeah. The dose
of the Ocho. Of the Ocho. Yeah, that's the title of this episode.
So, I'm super excited today because this is our third time charm.
Third time.
We're trying to get Mister Sam Shearon. Sam, welcome to the club.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Man,
how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We were just talking about how we were having technical difficulties, and that was so annoying. So
yeah, it because he got over he came over into the office and he's like, okay, let's just get. It was hours ago. Okay, it's recognizing this. Okay, good. And then the last 30 minutes is like, okay, all right, it's recognizing the card. Let's hook up the mics, everything, headphones. He can't hear anything out of his headphones.
No, I was starting to panic.
I was like, oh no.
I go work the problem. So yeah, we worked it, so it's good.
Yep.
Sam, I'm super happy that you came on. I do want to ask this question. Do you recall the first time we kind of initiated talking to each other?
Yes, vaguely I do. I thought you were someone else.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No. You.
What
were you going to say?
I was just going to say because I have a Bigfoot Club page, and that I post 7 pictures constantly, and I think I post something of yours, and I didn't recognize that it was yours, and then you messaged me privately, and you goes, "Hey, buddy, this is mine. You need to let me." I go, "Okay, I'm so sorry." So I did put your name on there, and I did add it on there. So because of you, I've gone above and beyond everybody that I'm posting now. I make sure I look them up, and I put the proper artist stuff on there so all the time. So I just wanted.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, that's the best way to be. I mean, I'm the same. If I see something that I like, or if I see someone else's work, if there's another artist that I like or that I'm friends with, for instance, Jonathan Dodd, he's a great artist. Easton Hawke is another great artist. And if I see their artwork popping up and no one sort of credited them, whether it's me or someone else, I'll always sort of put it out there. It's really hard to get seen, especially these days with this ocean of crap AI. The real artists are kind of getting drowned,
Yeah. Because I was going to ask you that question. I was going to ask you what are your thoughts on AI? I mean, you kind of said
it. Well, it's people say, well, it's inevitable, and you have to move with the times. And I disagree. You don't have to move with the times. There are people who still work in theater who have never appeared on screen because they just don't want to, or they just, it's not their craft.
Right.
I think with AI, in terms of artwork, though, it's, you have these people who are overnight AI artists, quote unquote, and they're not. They're prompters at best. They're AI users at best. There's no artistry involved. The machine, by definition, cannot create art. It's a machine. Mm-hmm. Art has the human touch, the emotion, and people will argue, well, you can tweak it, and you can add extra prompts, and you can keep molding it until it gets to be what you want it to look like, and therefore they consider themselves the creator of an image using AI.
Right.
But again, there's so many other twists and turns and morals to it, because essentially what they're using is someone else's work that's been fed into the machine, and they're still not physically actually doing it. And I would argue even digital art, which I do both traditional physical art and digital art for all of the book covers, album covers that I do. But even when it's digital art, we're still pushing pixels around. We're still painting. We're still making those micro decisions on how something will look. With AI, It does it for you. And so there's no artistry involved. But, not to go down that road too much,
Right.
I think in general, it's just detrimentally bad for the industry of creatives as a whole, whether it be music, acting, writing, even. You're seeing this another ocean of shit in the literature world. All over Amazon books are coming out that have been written by AI, and it's just garbage. It's just useless garbage.
Yeah.
And one interesting point that I'll just finish with on AI in regards to cryptozoology, particularly Bigfoot, we're seeing tons of fake videos, whether it be UFOs or all manner of cryptids and Bigfoot, of course, just drowning Instagram, TikTok, Facebook in particular. There's entire groups of Bigfoot imagery, which is all AI. Then you get all the cutesy stuff. But more importantly, you're starting to see reenactments made, almost like little short films of animations, which are hyper realistic AI, of course, of a witness encounter. For example, there was one done for something that happened up near Vegas where the green fireball went overhead and crash landed, and some young kids saw some tall beings in the backyard. I don't know if you remember that. And the police came along fairly recently. Well, someone's done like a recreation video of what they witnessed of the creature in the backyard. And it sort of plays along while the kid is retelling the story. So you have something to look at and watch. Now, the problem I have, a bit long-winded here, but my point is, the problem with that whole scenario is you're now having, whereas on the one hand, a forensic artist, like a police sketch witness artist, will take the details from the witness and they will interpret those into as best as they can from what the witness describes. Now, the witness isn't going to get every detail, particularly in a crime scene, for whatever reason, adrenaline, just the duration, the light, whatever happens, fear takes over. Sometimes your mind fills in the gaps. Even if you're seeing a UFO or a Bigfoot or you're being robbed, you're never going to quite remember it exactly. Now, what they're doing with AI is they're filling in the gaps that simply aren't there. So the problem we have is we're now perpetuating images, false information, almost like the game Telephone, or in the UK we call it Chinese whispers, where a story will be passed on, and you can't quite understand it, so you'll interpret it wrong. And so that wrong information is then passed on. So we're now in an age where, unfortunately, if you want to take mysteries, the unexplained, whether it be supernatural or paranormal, and you want to try and really make a record of it and investigate these things, you now have this problem with a ton of false information that's being brought forward thanks to AI, because those images are simply inaccurate. They're fantasticized, if you will. They're completely made up based only on what the AI information can present. Now, someone will take the witness statement and say, say to the AI, it does this, it's this color, it looks this, and I want it to do that. And it will generate something. But again, it's filling in gaps of things that simply weren't there. It might make the skin slightly green. It might make it look more muscular. And so the next person who sees that will then describe it that way. And that's just simply wrong. Right. So I see there's good and bad, points to it. Some people might think that's a great thing, it becomes more cinematic and entertaining, and it might get more people involved from it being entertaining. But simply from my stubble old mind point of view is it's just wrong. I prefer the real deal.
Right. I have to agree with you. I try not to post anything that's AI stuff. Mm-hmm. I try to post like other people's art, and I try to.
Oh, that's great.
I try to at least give credit to it. So everything that I'm going through right now, I have like a big database, like 6,000 pictures, and I'm just going through every one of them. And
fantastic.
I post like 7 a day, so I at least try to put like the artist like info on there and stuff. There is one artist that was like, he got really mad at me. He was like cussing at me. Like,
yeah, he approached you in a very, very disrespectful, wrong
Who's
way.
that?
His name was I'll Take It Out.
Steve Never heard of him.
He's a Native American guy. And he got really angry because, like, I was telling him, I said, "Hey, dudes, I go watermark your stuff, so I know it's you." I looked everywhere on the internet for his stuff, and I could not find it. And he was like, he was threatening me. He says, "I'm gonna go to your house and kill you and all this." I go, "Okay."
What?
Yeah. I said,
goodness.
I go, "Okay, whatever." But anyway,
that's interesting. You know, it's funny, just to interject there. I did a book cover for David Weatherly. I'm sure you're familiar with him. He's a great investigator himself. You know, he's one of the best. And we're working on a book series together. I say together, I'm doing the cover artwork. He's writing the books entirely himself. It's all his work.
Right.
But I'm doing the cover artwork for all 50 states of the United States of North America. And there was one particular book that we did. I think it was Mount Rushmore State. And on the
South
cover,
Dakota.
Right. Yeah, there was it's like a famous hill in the background, and legend has it that there are these little people, or almost duendes or pukwudgies, or some kind of small hobbit-like Bigfoot, maybe small Native American type little people that are said to run around and throw spears and, you know, shoot arrows at you, and they protect this sort of giant burial mound. And people report them even to this day, seeing little men running through the woods and across the fields and whatnot, which is disturbing in itself. So I depicted this in as a accurate way as I possibly could. I tried to find every description that I could. And then with everything I do, I tried to make it look as realistic in a sort of romantic kind of way, you know, keep it traditional as much as I can and add in traditional details. So, you know, what tools would they use? What would they have access to? What animals are in the area? Okay, there's a lot of crows there, so maybe they would have crow feathers in their hair. You know, using a little bit of artistic license, but putting, you know, certain details in there to make it feel real. And I get a message from a Native American guy. I forget his name. And I think it wasn't a message. He left a comment. That's right. And I can't remember if I deleted it or not. I think I deleted it because I thought, you know, I'm not even going to give this guy airtime. But he said, shame on me for doing the artwork, not because of what I had depicted, but because he believed in his mind that a Native American should have done the artwork and not me because of the subject matter. And I just thought, you know, that the whole argument of cultural appropriation, I just thought it's just absolutely ridiculous. People take it a little bit too far. Now, of course, you have to be careful and you have to be respectful because there is such a thing as stepping on the wrong toes and you can offend people. But what he's done there is he's just sort of taken it and run with it in completely the wrong direction. There's no reason that anyone of any culture should be only allowed to portray certain things. Right. It just doesn't make any sense because the world would stop if everybody did that and nothing would get done. You know, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, right.
He's talking to me in the English language, you know. So should he be talking to me in the English language? I don't know. He's using a piece of technology developed by English-speaking people. Should he be allowed to? You know,
exactly.
That's how ridiculous I thought it was. I'm a professional artist. I did it with as much respect as I could, and at no point did I think. I'll admit, at no point did it occur to me, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. You know, maybe someone of native descent or First Nation people should do this. It didn't occur to me because I don't think it mattered. I really don't.
Right. And
I stand by that.
Well, David didn't go to him. He went to you. So,
well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's not my book. But hey, you know, there have been instances where someone's approached me and they've wanted to hire me to do certain artwork. And I've thought to myself, you know, another artist would be a better fit for this. You know, I don't just do anything for anyone. And it's not about the money. You know, it's not anything to do with, oh, here comes another job, I'll just take it. You know, if there's something that I think is maybe perhaps best suited for Jonathan Dodd, for example, I'll say, hey, you should contact him. He's probably better for this than I would. He may have done similar things in the past, so go and speak to him, or Eastern Hawk, again, a great artist. And I think it's important to sort of support each other and put it where it belongs. But some people sort of overstep the mark, and they don't really. I think they're just trying to be moral guardians for the sake of it. Some people just they get endorphins from complaining, kind of thing.
Yeah, Dodd did our logo.
Very cool. There you go.
So he did our logo, and he did it like a while back, like in 2019 and stuff. So.
Yeah, he's a good logo guy. He's done a few.
Yeah. He's good people, and he's actually been on the show too. So,
nice.
I asked him to come on. And he goes, "I don't have any Bigfoot stories." I go, "Who cares? Just come on."
Yeah, let's talk about art.
So, speaking of Sam, we didn't. I failed to mention that you're the number one. We had you on because number one, you're a great artist, and you had.
Well, thank you very much.
And you had a big clientele, you were. I think your list is Ministry, Rob Zombie. I'm probably missing some people here.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work
American
for a
Head
lot
Charge.
of bands.
Yeah.
The comic books of authors, film posters. I've done all kinds of things. But in the band area, I've created artwork for Rammstein, Iron Maiden, American Head Charge, Paramount 5000, Doyle, Orgy, Kiss. The list goes on. But I've created for Clive Barker, Whitley Strieber, in fact, Ken Gerhard, David Weatherly, of course, David Hatcher Childress, Joshua Cutchin. The list goes on. So yeah.
So do you have an agent where these guys they just reach out to you directly and say, "Hey man, I want
it's a mix. It's a mixture. It's mainly me for the first few years, and I've been sort of doing this 20 years now, maybe 25. But it's generally a case of me building up my own portfolio and one by one. Approaching different bands and saying, hey, I've created for XYZ. I'd really like to do something for you in the future. Or it has simply been a case where I've been headhunted by a record label and they've said, hey, we like your work. Would you like to do something for Iron Maiden? It's a case of a band will simply work from one of their own band friends because they all tour together. And some of them say, oh, you should get Sam to do this, that kind of thing. And it really just organically grows. I do have a wonderful manager, but that's more to do with the literature side and the contract side of stuff that I do for some of the bigger clients, like Clive Barker or Stan Lee or, those kind of things. She's amazing. Natalia Gandolfo of Gandolfo Literary Press. And really... That's pretty much just how it is. It's a very, very open mix of people approaching me out of the blue, or I will see something that I like and I'll think, maybe I've seen some of their other cover artwork and I'll think to myself, in a kind of, not in a too much of a big-headed way, but I'll think, they deserve better, and I'll approach them and say, hey, I'd like to create something for you. How about it?
Right. I was listening to another podcast, Paranormal People podcast with Lucid Hawk.
Oh, right.
Shout out to Lucid, and I was listening to that one, and I was listening to your, because I was going to, there was a couple of things on there. There was, because I heard your story about how you were crossing the Atlantic back and forth, with like some buddy of yours, right? Some buddy of yours that was in a band, and you're going to LA a lot, and that's how you got started, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, initially, I think the first album cover I did was for a band called Godhead, and they were the first band signed to Marilyn Manson's own record label. He had a record label back in 2000 called Posthuman Records, I believe. And so Godhead, I was a big fan of them. They were an industrial outfit from Los Angeles. And I just became friends with the singer, and they were on tour. I'd already done a little artwork for them. And he said, hey, if you ever need to come out to LA, or if you just want to visit, you can come and stay at the studio. So I'd already been headhunted by another company to do artwork for Iron Maiden, and got a few grand for that. And so I took that and just thought, well, I'm going to get on a plane and explore Los Angeles. And the rest is history. I just sort of kept going back and eventually just moved here.
Wow.
That's awesome. I know. It's kind of like one of those things like, man, in that moment when you're doing that, it's like, is this really happening? Like, am I really like, I'm like part of the band, but I'm not, but I am. Like, it's wow.
It's funny. I have had to pinch myself a few times, because I've been in some hairy, scary situations. I've been in some strange places, both in rock star situations where I'm hanging out with a band or I'm staying with them at their house. And it's odd, you have to remember, these are just people like me and you. They're not spacemen or anything. They're not like gods from another world. They're just regular people. And in all honesty, in my own naivety at the very beginning, we're talking 20 odd years ago, when I first came out to Los Angeles, I did stay with a few friends that I'd, become acquainted with over MySpace back in the day.
Wow.
And they said, hey, I have a couch or I have a spare room if you want to crash for a few days. And so I sort of couch surfed in and around Los Angeles while I visited, staying with friends, and then I would meet that group of friends, would have a group of friends, and eventually I almost connected a lot of other people to each other as well. So a lot of the people out in Los Angeles in various little groups and cliques now know each other because of me, which is really funny. It's funny how that works, and it's almost like I'm a little piece of dirt in the wind that kind of got stuck in a cog in the great machine. And it's all sort of melted together now. But it's really weird how it happens. I've been sat in a car being driven around. It always seems to be a black Dodge Charger that they all have. Every one of them at some point has owned one of them, and I've been sat in the passenger seat, whether it's Al Jorgensen from Ministry driving me around El Paso in Texas in his car, and we're just chatting away. And I'm just looking at him, and I'm just thinking, how am I here? What's going on?
Yeah.
Or it's Burton Sibel, formerly of Fear Factory, driving me around in his car. Or it's Spider One from Fireman 5000 driving me around in his car. And again, it's always been this kind of, it's like a repeating dream, except the driver changes, and you just think, hang on, how am I here again? This is really strange. It's happening again. So that's kind of surreal, but everyone seems to drive those cars.
You know what I think it's kind of funny. I wish, and I know this is like wishful thinking, but I wish you had like a YouTube channel back then. And you could like just record all the stuff where you went.
you would have had a following. You would have, not only that, you would have plugged in your artwork, and a lot of people would have probably heard at that time. But man, that would have been great. Like, each YouTube video, hanging out with Powerman 5000 or hanging out with Ministry, and you're just like, I would want to see a video like that.
That's the funny thing. It's like you sort of, it's like hindsight's 2020, isn't it? I think back, and I have albums and albums full of photographs that I haven't uploaded to Facebook yet, and there's a lot of video in there as well. We went through a car wash with Al Jorgensen in his car, and he was drunk, and it was crazy, and it was just what's happening. That's on film.
Yeah.
At one point I was in Marilyn Manson's bedroom on Twiggy's birthday. This is back in 2010, and again, it's just like Fred Sablan, who's the bass player for Deftones now, was at the time rather in that band, and he's just sitting on the couch watching British comedy, and I'm just thinking, what is going on? This is just bizarre. But it's
who was that from Deftones?
Fred Sablan.
Oh,
Sablon.
okay. Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but good old Fred.
Yeah.
He used to be the bass player for a minute in Marilyn Manson, and he's now in the Deftones. Great guy.
Oh, yeah, he's the new bass player because I think they got rid of the
Steven's a huge Deftones fan.
Yes, huge. I worship Chino in all his glory.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan, and so that just hearing you say that you were like you've been surrounded by these people like it's just like a normal Tuesday, like
Well, it's really funny. I did the last album for the band Filter, and Richard Patrick, who's the singer songwriter, he is basically Filter in as much as Trent Reznor is Nine Inch Nails. But Richard used to be in Nine Inch Nails. It was him and Trent originally.
Right.
And so now where I'm creating, like I say, I've created the last album for Richard, the full package, the artwork and all that kind of stuff. I ended up in a couple of his music videos as well in the background or just like in the scenes. And it's really bizarre because we'd go over to his studio, me and my girlfriend, she'd drive us over there, and it's like maybe 45 minutes from where I live. And he has his own little recording studio, and we'd just sit in there, and he'd play new material he'd be working on. And I knew that he was friends with Manson, and I'd say, how's he doing? Have you spoken to him recently? And he'd say, he was just here yesterday, sitting on the couch. And I'm just thinking, I just missed him, But then he told me that Chino Marino, who he's also good friends with, will often just come by the studio and they'll just sing songs together for fun for the afternoon. They'll just hang out and sing songs.
That's awesome.
I'm like cheesing so hard right now. Oh my gosh!
I don't know if you know. Richard Patrick is the brother of Robert Patrick, who played the T-1000.
Yes.
And of course, he was also Agent Doggett in the X-Files.
Yeah.
So, yeah, small world.
Yeah, that is
too sweet.
Everything's connected.
Everything is connected. That is so
synchronicity.
Awesome. Yes,
synchronicity.
It really
is
is.
finest. So,
I think I had a question. Whenever a band, I guess I don't know how they approach you, and they're like, "Hey, they're working on a new album. Can we do they give you an idea of what they want the album to cover, or they give you free reign on what you think the album cover should look like?"
Yeah, I mean, it's as different as from one person to the next, and it really is as different as their hair color or the clothes they're wearing, because you'll have, for the most part, I will say the majority they know my work and they say, blank canvas, have at it, enjoy yourself, do what you think. But I'll always sort of say, hey, I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking of that. Do you have any ideas? So we'll kind of go back and forth discussion-wise, but they'll never say, like I'm not the kind of artist that will do sketches. I honestly find it's a waste of time when I could be working on the actual thing, So I'll try as much as I can to verbalize it with them and try and find out what they want to see. But for the most part, they just kind of say, it's up to you. Occasionally you will get difficult clients, and occasionally you'll get really difficult record labels, which are cutthroat. And it's not a case of they don't like the work you've done. They will genuinely, on many occasions, decide to change the direction of the album, and that's usually the worst thing that can happen for an artist, because especially at the end of the gate as well, when you've done the piece and there's been this has happened 2 or 3 times. There's been no communication that they are going in a different direction, and they've failed to tell the artist, who is unaware and is continuing on with the artwork, me.
Right.
That has, as I said, has happened once or twice where the album's completed and it's been submitted, and then they've said, oh, sorry, yeah. Like literally they have forgotten to tell the fucking artist they've hired that they're going in a new direction. Whether a band member has left or they've decided to include different songs, and so it's changed the theme of the album, various reasons. And so that's an awkward one. Sometimes you'll get, and this is rare, but occasionally you will get a band or a band member, usually the singer, who has their own vision to the point of they want to hold your hand to the nth degree, every step of the way and make a million changes because they want it either a certain particular way in their mind that they simply cannot express. And so it takes forever to go back and forth to get it right because they don't know they can't verbalize it. Or you'll get the other kind where they simply just want to have a hand in it to say that they were part of the creation. You know, it's an ego thing. And that's the most annoying because they just get in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Oh, man.
You know, they don't even know what they're talking about, and yet they'll say, oh, well, maybe can we just do I'd like to see this and I want this to be this way. And you just think, you know, they have no idea how long it takes to create something, and you cannot just switch it up. But again, they just want to have their hand in it to say that they were part of the process. It is so annoying because deep down you know that they haven't a clue what they're talking about anyway.
Yeah. I know whenever I reached out to Jonathan Dodd, I over-explained what I wanted. I go, this is what I want. This is what I want it to look. And I just left him alone. And he did it like within an hour. And then sent it back to me. And he goes, hey, what about this? And the only thing I said, can you make the eyes a little bit bigger? And he goes, yeah. And I go, okay, we're good. Perfect. So I'll send you the money. Venmo.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's great. It's It's
See,
awesome.
I love it when a plan comes together. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, as I say, you know, there's some clients that are just brilliant and they will just be so easy, and they'll say, you know, we've seen your work, or we saw what you did for XYZ. We'd love to have you do this for ours. You know, do whatever you want, do your magic. And I'll get clients coming back, and I've done, you know, multiple albums in a row for the same band. Because they were so happy and they're just so easygoing, and we've had a great relationship. They keep coming back, and I'll do the next album, and then, you know, they'll release a single, and I'll do that, and then I'll do the next album. That's magic. Jason Charles Miller, who's the former singer for Godhead, that I mentioned earlier, he's since I think it was 2009, he went solo. And he's now a country singer, for want of a better word. And I'm not a fan of country. I'll be the first to admit I'm not a fan of country music. And when I say country music, and you hear his music, it's not country. But it's really hard to sort of. That's what makes him so great. It really is hard to sort of put him in a pigeon box and say, oh, he's this, because he does come from an industrial music background,
right,
and a heavy metal background. And he was on the Ozfest, you know, he was even on the Osbournes TV show at one point. He's done a lot of stuff, but his music, he's always come back to me, even from Godhead. I did the last album, and then he went solo in 2009. We've been friends ever since, and I've done every album cover for him since. And he's really blown up. You know, he does a lot of voiceover work, always has done, for various anime and video games. He does a lot of live action role play, the tabletop Dungeons and Dragons kind of stuff as well, like tons of that kind of stuff, where it's like YouTube panels where they all get together. And he does the soundtracks and the singing for some of the biggest video games in the world, some of the biggest anime in the world. And he gets flown out to Japan and China to do these concerts where there's tens of thousands of people, where he's on stage singing these anthemic, you know, classical music, anthemic rock pieces, you know?
Yeah.
So it's nice to see a client sort of change decision and direction for themselves, but then take them with you and say, hey, I still want you to do the artwork. You know, it's fantastic.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Wow.
Hey, I wanna change a little speed here. When I was listening to other podcasts, I overheard that you went out to the field to do Bigfoot stuff. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I've been out there a number of times. Since 2009, so before the first episode of Finding Bigfoot even aired, I was out there whacking trees and screaming into the darkness like an idiot. But yeah, I've been out to Willow Creek. I've lost count the amount of times I've been out there. I've stayed in the Bigfoot cabin out there. I've camped out on the top of a mountain in the middle of Oregon with a eyewitness who took me to the same spot where he'd had his face-to-face encounter. And we stayed up there and we sat on these little fold-out chairs until the sun came up, and that was terrifying. He himself was 6'9". I mean, he was a big guy.
Right.
I'm barely 6 foot, so walking around with this guy who's practically a foot taller than me was interesting at best. And he had a huge Colt gun on his belt, massive thing that he let me shoot the next morning. And for a Brit, that was really fun because we don't get to do that. But
Right.
you know, it was a really interesting night. He had a bunch of casts and recordings, and he sort of, unfortunately, I think he became a little bit obsessed and started embellishing his witness experiences.
Oh man.
And started to claim that he continued to have experiences, which I find really sad because I do believe his initial encounter did happen. But I think that, and it happens to a lot of people, where whether it's UFOs or a a Bigfoot encounter or something, they'll get a lot of press. Maybe they end up even on a news segment, and they'll get a lot of attention. And when that fades away, it's almost like
a drug.
They need
a drug.
Yeah, they need to get that influx of the adrenaline rush again, and so they start making up things, or they'll, I do believe that that's the case with, like I say, a lot of the most famous UFO cases throughout history. I think that that's a similar situation where something unbelievable has happened to them, and then they get a taste for the attention. Or maybe it's just a way for them to deal with it. They start imagining even, or they believe themselves that they've seen something again since. And it's a really tricky road to navigate because I'm not the sort of person to ever doubt anyone. I will say I'm a skeptic. I will say, there's some people that say, oh, you can't use the word believe when you talk about Bigfoot or UFOs because that has a religious connotation. And I agree. I would always say I'm not a believer, I'm a knower kind of thing. But if you want to loosely say the word belief, I believe that there are Bigfoot out there. I believe that it isn't what people think. I think they're a type of people, and I do think the authorities know. And I think that's why it hasn't been brought forth, because if we were to find out that there's another type of human, albeit a very large one, still walking around in the woods, I think a lot of society would start to have a nervous breakdown in terms of racism, because that would just go off the scale. Are they human? How human are they? Can they vote? All that nonsense, right?
Right.
Essentially what we would be talking about. And you only have to look at the footprints to see that it's a human footprint. So they can't be that far away from us on the family tree. I don't think they're Homo sapien. I think they're something along the family tree, but just a different branch that hasn't died out. And I think they're clinging on in different pockets around the world, other branches of different types. I think there's clearly more than one type, even across America. And then you have the muddy water, don't you, where you talk about especially places like Florida with the skunk ape and lower Texas, where you have these what seemingly are giant chimps, is not the same thing again. And some people may say, well, there are reports going back to the 1800s, and these are escaped animals from circuses that have survived by breeding out in the wilderness. Who bloody knows? I do think there's more than one explanation. And I think they're all correct. But for the most part, the most Bigfoot reasoning I can say is that there are a type of people, the true Bigfoots, the one in the Northwest, and Canada and onwards, even in New York. I think there are pockets of, or tribes of people. And if you look at the geological makeup of the United States, there's only something like 5 to 10% of it is really occupied by people. The rest is still mountains and deserts and forests, just unbelievable mountain ranges that go on to places where we haven't set foot ever. And then, you like I say, I went to Oregon, and you sit on the top of that mountain and you look out over 3 million acres alone of uncharted forest where airplanes have gone down that they haven't even found.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a big area. And so if something's walking around that's actively trying to avoid you, you're not going to find it. Mm-hmm. It's going to see you. It's going to smell you. It's going to hear you long before you get anywhere near it. And I think that explains why a lot of hunters who say, well, I would have seen it by now. I don't think they even though hunters know the outdoors more than anybody else, I don't think they realize that a primate, which is the same as us, can see orange from a good distance away.
Yeah.
Fluorescent orange is, we wear those bright colors so that we don't shoot each other. Deer can't see orange; they see it as green or brown. They don't recognize the fluorescence of it, which is why it's perfect to wear when you're hunting deer or what have you. But a Bigfoot, if it is anything like us on the family tree of primates, it's going to see that orange a mile away and it's gone. So I think that's also why hunters never see them or come across them, very rarely. And also there's hunting seasons. People aren't out there every day. There are seasons for maybe a month, 2 months at the most.
Yep.
And then you have to leave. So people aren't there all the time anyway. So I always kind of poo-poo a hunter when they say, I know the outdoors like the back of my hand. I'm sure they do. I'm really sure they do. But most of them haven't seen a mountain lion either. So, and how many black bears are out there?
Too many.
And they rarely see, you rarely see them. You never find a skeleton of those.
Yeah.
But they're out there. Mm-hmm. And we're talking, if it's Bigfoot, it's going to be a much smaller population. Maybe they bury their dead. Again, they're actively avoiding us. You could go on. There's so many reasons. But yeah, I've been out there a number of times. Been out in Connecticut, New York area. Believe it or not, there's one up there called Big Red Eye. There's old yellowtop up in that region. California, Arizona. I have a funny story from Arizona.
Do tell.
They have a couple out there. There's the Yucca Man in a certain area, and then you've got the Mogollon Ridge, which is more forested and rocky kind of area of Arizona. It's not desert, surprisingly. And there's been a number of sightings in recent years out there. So me and my girlfriend, she has family in Arizona. We decided to take a road trip, go out there. And while we're out there, we also like to look for fossils or bones out in the desert region before we get to the mountains and the forests. And the desert region is surrounded by a sort of a collar shape of reddish, just bare mountain rocks. And they're sort of the horizon, and they kind of creep into the desert and they get smaller towards you until they become rubbly hills that you can get up on. And I'm out there with my girlfriend in the baking sun. And of course, I've always got weird UFOs, Bigfoot on my mind, whatever. Anytime I'm out in the middle of nowhere, because you never know. But they always say if you look for it, you never see it, right? It's like ghosts. You're never going to see a ghost if you're looking for one. It just sort of happens. Mm-hmm. But there I was looking at rocks on the ground, picking up the odd rocks, seeing if it's got any, strange fossils in them or what have you. And I see something out of the corner of my eye up on a rocky ridge, a good 1,000 yards away, pretty far away. And it's a black shape. And I'm thinking, is that a person? No, it's too big. Is that a bear? I don't think there are any bears out where we are. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, well, where's my girlfriend? Quickly look around. She's about 100, 200 yards away from me. So I make this little noise like meh, which is like high pitch, so that it catches her attention and she'll do it back, which is an indication that she's okay. But I do it and she puts her head up and I wave at her and I beckon her to come over. But I don't want to shout to scare this thing away. And I'm thinking, is that a Mogollon monster? Is that a Yucca Man? What is that? I don't know what that is. And it's big, and then it stands up, and it's twice as big as what I'd originally seen. And now my back is like something's going up my spine, and I'm thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, what is that? What is that? And it starts walking towards the edge, and it kind of turns and looks in our direction. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, is that really what I'm seeing? And I'm fumbling in my pocket with my hand to try and get my phone out, see if I can get a picture. My girlfriend doesn't understand what's going on. She thinks maybe I found a fossil, so she's not overly concerned. She's just strolling over to me. And I'm like, come here. And I pull out my phone. And just as I kind of look again and I see this thing, I'm thinking, what if it sees her before me? What if it gets to her before me? So I'm starting to have a million thoughts a second. I'm panicking now. And this thing looms up over the rock and puts its arm out. And it's entirely jet black, head to toe. Which, I would be unusual for an animal in a rocky, sandy, desert color region to be that color. You would think, maybe it should be more camouflage or what have you, but for whatever reason, it's jet black. So I'm thinking, is it the shadow? Is it just whatever? A million thoughts a second going through my mind. And then another one steps out behind it. And everything just flashed through my head because this one was bright red. And that's when I realized it was wearing like a North Face jacket. And I kind of put my phone up and zoomed in, and it was two hikers. But for that second, I understood how people will see things
right.
and run with it. They'll run with it and say, I saw this thing. And even if as in my position where I figured out what it was eventually, for that moment, I could have been one of those people that just forgot the little bit at the end. I could have just spun that story forever and say that they just walked away, And I think some people do that as well. I think some people will also see a UFO, or there'll be a wasp on a photograph they've taken, and it'll be slightly blurred, so they'll say, oh, look, it's a UFO, when they know damn well it's not. And yet they'll love the attention, and they'll spin that kind of thing. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think that happens a lot. People want to believe.
Right. And I think what you were saying, too, of how you were, because in that moment before that, you realized it was two hikers. It sounded like you were freaking out because you were worried that it would, get to your girlfriend and all that stuff. There's also that possibility when people see that and they don't stay because they're so frightened, they just leave. Yeah. And they don't even get to the conclusion that, it was just two hikers. Oh, yeah, like exactly. They turn they quickly run away, and then they're like, I saw a Bigfoot. And then there's that. Yeah. You have those stories. So yeah, that's a good.
I love that about you, Sam. I was listening to another podcast of yours, and you were kind of saying almost the same thing, kind of your mentality. Would you say you're a flesh and blood, or you're a woo person?
I'm open to both. In all honesty, for the most part, I'll say I'm about 80% natural, realistic, ground-based. Mm-hmm. There has to be a scientific explanation for everything. Mm-hmm. But there's that 20% of me, because I have experienced things that I simply don't have an answer for. And I'm as much as I'm entertained by it, and we all have our book collections, and we love these documentaries we watch, and we like going out into the field, and we have the stickers and the posters, and we're all into cryptozoology. Mm-hmm. But deep down, beyond the entertainment, I really do want to find out what's going on and who saw what. Find out, not necessarily if they're lying to sort of point the finger at them and say, ha, but to find out if they're lying so that I can move on to the real thing.
Right. Mm.
However, once in a while, there will be something where I'll think that story is just too fantastical, so much so that you couldn't even make that up. There are situations where you think, well, why would someone even say that? Because it's so ridiculous. Like, it has to have happened, because no one's going to say something like that and it not be real, because they know that no one's going to believe them. You'll get people who will talk about the Loch Ness Monster, mm-hmm. which for the most part, we know today simply just cannot be a prehistoric reptile. It's not a plesiosaur. We just know it's not. purely for the fact that the lock itself didn't exist when they died out. So for it to be surviving and sort of trapped in there, number one, you'd need a population of them. But number two, that body of water didn't exist, a few million years ago when the plesiosaurs died out. So it just simply cannot be one of those. However, people are seeing something. They are seeing something that's long-necked, serpentine almost, very large, but not a whale. And so you have to wonder what is going on. And yes, you get people making things up. Yes, you get people who, they're not even drunk. They're not even high. They're not even crazy. They just want the attention. They just want to be part of it. Some people do it for money, and they lie and they pretend to be investigators, and they set up funding to go on these things or whatever, and they're not really into it. They just sort of quite fancy the lifestyle of it and the attention. And those are the worst people, because again, it muddies the water and it sends people down the wrong avenue because they're not doing the proper research. They're not doing the real thing, and they're embellishing things and they're sort of spinning things that simply aren't real. But again, once in a while, you'll have a bit of woo where it's so fantastical, and people will say things like, I saw the Loch Ness Monster, and I don't care what anyone says, no one ever take that away from me. And you have to believe them, because to them, they really have nothing to gain. They're not looking for any money. They're not seeking anyone's attention, but they have this incredible encounter. And that happens the world over with like monsters, or giant eagles, or Bigfoot again, and UFOs. But the woo thing, it has to be something. In terms of Bigfoot, there's also something going on with that. Nick Redfern talked about it. There's a lot of things in Texas which talk about glowing orbs that follow Bigfoot, or they carry them in their hand, almost like a will-o'-the-wisp. It might follow a Bigfoot through the woods, or they're seen quite often with these strange lights. There's also those, numerous cases of Bigfoot stepping out of a UFO, or multiple Bigfoot stepping off a ship and then running off into the woods, and then the ship flies away. I mean, what the hell is that? This is where it starts to get really strange, because again, if these are extraterrestrials, it might explain why we don't see them every day. It might explain why there's no body. It might explain why they just suddenly disappear sometimes, where the footprints end, to quote one of Joshua Cutchin's books. Sometimes people will find tracks in the dirt and they will just stop. And there's nowhere to jump to. There's no tree to leap up or pull yourself up into. The footprints will simply stop. And that's just strange. Have they gone into another dimension? Is there another world? Is there some kind of a veil, like a fairy kind of window doorway? It really is a strange one. And I can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, I can't throw it all away. I can't just discount it, because there's too many cases of it. And people will say, well, there's plenty of fairy tales. It doesn't mean they're real. Well, that is, a nice point, but we're talking about modern day people who'll be driving a truck and a UFO will be sitting in the middle of the road, and a Bigfoot will step out, and then they'll lose an hour, and then they'll wake up and the car's running and they're driving down the road, but they don't even remember how they got to where they are, and they may be an hour down the road where they should be from. That kind of stuff is really bizarre to me.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think, all the years, because I've interviewed like thousands of people, in the group that I used to be with. And then I was in a paranormal group for like 10 years. I was a case director and like, I could, whenever I first started, I was a flesh and blood guy all the way. Luke Gross was my mentor, and he kind of taught us that. But after I left the group, and I was doing like a bunch of indie stuff on my own, I ran into some orbs like in the woods, and when I was doing Bigfoot stuff, and I cannot explain it, how I saw this stuff. And then I've interviewed people, like whenever I've interviewed people, there's some people who say, hey, this thing was massive and it stepped into the woods and the woods swallowed it up. And I go, what? I go, the woods swallowed it up. I go, what do you mean? I said, well, these trees were skinny. I should have been able to see him, walking through the woods, and I could not see him. He stepped into the woods and then just, he's gone. And I go, okay. So, I mean, I've interviewed so many people, and I've taken Steven in the woods with me when he was a kid, and he's experienced stuff and I've experienced stuff. And, it's just like, I can't discount some of the paranormal stuff, and it's like when I was first in the group, they shied away from that. Oh, we can't post that. That's paranormal stuff. And I go, well, that's what the people say that they saw. I mean, I can't discount it. And then whenever I experience it myself, I go, oh my God. I mean, it's just like so much stuff that, it brought me back home, and, so, I mean, I'm with you on it, and I really love your perspective on stuff. It's almost like you're a Bigfoot researcher, like at first, and then you're an artist second. So,
right.
Well, in all honesty, I mean, it goes hand in hand. I have this. I dare boast about it. I have a very large collection of books on all manner of the unexplained, and have been collecting since childhood. So I do have a sort of a filing cabinet in my head of all kinds of things.
Right.
And so it's a case of I do prefer, as I said, 80% of me is like flesh and blood, because I really do want to find out what's going on. And there has to be sometimes a very simple answer to it. And sometimes, unfortunately, that answer is that someone heard someone else's story and they just copy it or embellish it, which I think is what's happening with the Dogman phenomenon. I don't believe that Dogman is a werewolf, walking around as people claim or will portray in various dubious AI videos that we've seen recently. It's laughable to me that there are a plethora of hunters on various podcasts who'll talk about these encounters with Dogman as though it's a rival hunter that they run into every weekend, and to me it just sounds like a soap opera. Like they just want to be part of the scene, and they'll kick up a fuss if you doubt them, and they'll get all angry and uppity about it, that this thing was face to face with them and blah blah blah, and you just think, no, it wasn't. Listen, mate, it wasn't. And I think shows like Mountain Monsters and Mountain Men or whatever have got a lot to blame for that kind of thing, because it's entertainment. It's not real. Now, do I think that people see upright walking bears with mange that look kind of human because they're kind of skinny? Maybe that's what Dogman is. Maybe people are running into very vicious, rabid bears that have no hair, that have maybe been hit by a car and they look deformed, or or maybe they've run into a Bigfoot with exactly the same things. One theory I did have regarding Bigfoot and the Dogman is that if Bigfoot are in fact another tribe, as many First Nation and Native American people will claim, and there's, as we know, thousands of years of stories been handed down of Bigfoot being another tribe. If that's the case, then could it possibly be that Bigfoot wear headdresses like a wolf skin? Maybe, I mean, it sounds silly saying it, but maybe the chieftain of a Bigfoot tribe will be the one that gets to wear the wolf skin on his head. Maybe they genuinely wear them to keep warm, like people do. And maybe these giant hairy things with wolf type heads are being seen by hunters, and they automatically just say, oh, it's a Dogman, because that's what they saw, an upright wolf. It's a long shot. It's kind of an out there theory, but I do believe that that's possible.
I did hear you say that on this other podcast. And I do like that. And I do like that idea. This is what I was thinking also as well. I had a sighting report in Conroe, Texas, which is South Texas. It's near the, I think, Sam Houston National Forest. And it was this lady that was doing a sighting report to us. And she said that she saw this Bigfoot cross the freeway wearing a top coat or a coat.
Wow.
And she was insisted upon it. And like I was thinking to myself, I said, what if it's just like matted fur? Like it's like maybe it was like hanging out like in some mud and it was tan. The mud was tan and it was just doing that. So I was thinking whenever you said that, what if, this person who think they saw a dog man was actually a Bigfoot, just had matted hair and its hair was sticking up. What if that, and,
very true. Yeah. I mean, matted hair, we've got all kinds of reports of having long hair, almost like an orangutan.
Yeah.
And so, as you say, that gets dreaded. And if it's sticking up, we all sleep on our heads funny sometimes, and we get these like cowlick hairs sticking out. Maybe it's got leaves stuck in its head and it looks like two ears. Maybe it's got hair coming out of its ass and it looks like a tail.
I just thought Bigfoot bedhead. Bam.
Yeah.
There you go.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Sure.
Yeah, like that's what you said too about the theory about them wearing a mask or something like that.
A headdress.
Yeah, headdress. It's like my mind.
We've blown. Never thought of that.
I've never thought of that.
Never thought of that.
I was like, what the heck? Yeah, you know what? It's possible.
And so when you were telling that story, it just reminded me of that one story that I had in the early 2000s in Houston.
Right.
I said, oh my God, she thought it was the top coat. Maybe it was just matted hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. Yeah.
So
could very well be.
Yeah, we end up going down there and we end up doing a cast. It was I think it was like 17 inches.
Wow.
Crossing the freeway. So it was a major freeway too. So I don't know.
Epic.
It was kind of weird, but Sam, we're about an hour. I think we could do something with this show. I don't even think we touched the tip of the iceberg with this. Because I still wanted to ask you like paranormal questions.
I mean, I'm happy to talk, or we can come back and do a part two. It's entirely up to you.
Yeah, let's get you back on and let's do a part two because
sounds good.
Sam, is there anything that you're working on that you want the people to to find you, or where's a good place that people can go find you, find your artwork, and just reach out to you and see what you're working on next?
But so where can people find me? Well, I draw live pretty much every night on Twitch, and every social media platform and my website, it all has the same name, which is Mister Sam Shearon, and the Mister is MISTER, the whole word, and then Sam, SAM, and then Shearon, SHEARON. And so you could have, twitch.tv/Mister Sam Shearon or Instagram /Mister Sam Shearon. Same with Facebook, YouTube, Patreon as well. I draw live there for special secret little coven group of people. But generally speaking, I'm working on a number of book covers at the moment. Another one for Joshua Cutchin, another one for Kenny Irish, another one for David Weatherly. And I'm also going to be appearing at Contact in the Desert. I'm vending my own table there for all 5 days. So if anyone's going to Contact in the Desert, I'll be there. And that's at the end of May 28th to the 1st of June, I believe. I'll also be at Creep IECon, vending my own table there at the Inland Empire out here in California. I'll be at San Diego Comic-Con, LA Comic-Con, Long Beach Comic-Con. I'll be at the Oddities Flea Market in October, the Krampus events in December. But most recently, I'm going to be 21st of March at the Hyena Horror Market in Burbank, California. So yeah, I'm everywhere.
Nice. Okay. I'm going to put all your links on the show notes. So
that's great.
That way everybody can
feel free to just cut it out.
Okay. Man, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yes, and being patient with us.
Thank you for the invite, Rob.
No problem. Yeah. Thanks for being patient with us on that. So
No, that's good, man. I do so many of these, and like yourselves, we've been doing this for years. Not everything is as simple as our technology claims to be. It just isn't.
right.
Yeah.
So we just had Sam Shearon on. Mm-hmm. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was awesome. I really like the guy. He's got amazing stories, and I want him back.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I didn't even ask him about English breakfast or nothing.
I forgot to ask him about the shadow person that was watching him while he was asleep.
Yeah.
So
we'll have him back on.
Yeah.
We'll have him back on in a couple of weeks. You have any shout outs?
Shout out to my family. I love you. Thank you.
Really quick, my foot's doing better. For
Yes.
anybody that's like wanting to know, it's purple. That's almost like a Prince foot.
Yeah.
Prince foot. Who says that?
Purple rain. I don't know.
All right. Shout out to everybody that's been reaching out to me, asking me about my foot. Too many people to add on here. So good night and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bang.
Bang.
If you are listening to us for the first time, thank you for joining us. If you are a regular listener, double thank you for your continued support. We appreciate every one of you, and your engagement means the world to us. To help us keep providing quality content, please take a moment to subscribe, comment, like, follow, and give us a 5-star review. Your feedback truly helps us improve and grow. If you have any stories you'd like to share, or any concerns you'd like to discuss, we would love to hear from you. Please email us at bigfootclub1@gmail.com.